Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers sign Alex Len to add to their center group. Should we expect Len's sanity, Andy? Probably not, but we'll explain what it means next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, this one's always going to be free, never behind paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where about 32,000 subscribers are all hanging out, talking to us, talking to each other, and wondering whether or not the Lakers and their signing on Tuesday of Alex Len is going to fundamentally change the outlook now that the Mark Williams deal has officially been nixed by that failed physical. So the Lakers, Andy, seem to be rounding out their center depth in whatever way that they can. Alex Len is not Mark Williams, but he is significantly larger than Jaxson Hayes. So he's just a different kind of center, if nothing else.
Well, he's a different kind of center in the sense that he's worse. He's definitely worse than Mark Williams. Like I want to say from the outset that I don't have a problem with this signing per se. Like I don't think it's where I would have gone if I were the Lakers. Even
you don't have beef with Alex Len.
I definitely don't have beef with him. He's 7 foot 250. Like as far as Alex Len is concerned, I hope nobody relays anything other than positive comments from me, because that dude could kick my ass just by thinking about it. And look, he is a physical dude out there. Like that is something he will do. He will make you feel him out there. That being said, I would temper expectations. We will get into the why in terms of his impact, in terms of, frankly, how much I think he's actually even going to play. But he's a big dude. I mean, it's very clear from his signing, I think, that the Lakers, in looking for this size behind Christian Hayes, or a center behind Christian Hayes, or Jaxson Hayes. I was thinking of Christian Wood. Christian Wood was waived to make room for Alex Len. Surprisingly, on Twitter, at Cam Brothers, heard from a lot of Christian Wood stans and truthers and saying that the Lakers effed this up. They should have waived Cam Reddish or Shake Milton or Markieff Morris, or why would you waive Christian Wood? People, he has not played in almost a calendar year, and there are no signs that he is going to be returning anytime soon, other than tweets from Christian Wood, which, respectfully, I hope he can make a return, have not seemed to be accurate at all during this process.
He doesn't seem to be good at forecasting those things. So he's not playing. I mean, I actually, for a long time over the course of the season, I think, the idea of Wood getting back in the lineup has been important. A good rebounder, you can score a little bit, is a different kind of center than Hayes is. He's certainly undersized at that position, but provides a different skill set, no question. But the problem is you can't play. And if you can't play, then your potential as a player, it doesn't matter. That you just don't, and you don't want to be in a situation where you're hanging around other guys, however functional they might be. And nobody out there is a star. None of the options out there for the Lakers are stars, where they sort of get eaten up. And then you get to the end of the year and you find that Wood still can't play. Now, one thing that, in terms of injured centers, that it is important to remember is the door is not completely shut on a return this season for Maxi Kleber. So it is possible that the Lakers will get Kleber back before the end of the year. And they're certainly not going to cut him, given his, the value of his contract as a trade chip this offseason. To me, Andy, what this is really about and what this really says is where I think at least the Lakers are going to go in terms of their lineups. Because I'm like you. I don't think Len is going to play very often unless Hayes is hurt, or there are some very specific matchups where he might need Len against a really big body to eat up 10
Or
minutes.
he's just way better than either one of us expect, but he has not played regular minutes since the 21-22 season. The last 3 seasons he was in Sacramento, he played less than 10 minutes a game. During the Light the Beam season, he played like 7.5 minutes a game in the playoffs, like 6.5 during the regular season. I cannot pretend that I know all the context of all of his advanced numbers over the last several years. I can just tell you most of the ones I looked up are not good.
They're all over the place. I mean, his metrics are all over the place.
Not a lob threat. Like for those wondering if this is like a continuation of Mark Williams, Alex Len runs like a 9.7 40. Like he's not that guy. I looked up his numbers too. Like he does not get many lobs. Like he can finish if you set him up like standing around the rim or like wrap around or something. But he's not Jaxson Hayes or
he's not vertical, but he's a little bit more skilled than, as an offensive player. There was a stretch of about 5 or 6 years after he was drafted, taken by the Suns about 10 years ago, where, there was a concerted effort to sort of make Alex Len happen. And the last 4 or 5 years, there hasn't been. And his primary skill set, and it's nice work if you can get it. He's not awful. And that's not the point. His primary skill set is size. And he is if you're going to sign another player, it makes no sense to sign a third guy who kind of fits in the mold of Jaxson Hayes and Christian Koloko, who is a different version of Jaxson Hayes. It makes much more sense to sign somebody with a different profile and a different body type and a guy who can be deployed differently. And that's what the Lakers did. It makes a lot of sense. So react to that, but then I'll get to what I really think this means for how the Lakers are actually going to play.
From a pure skill standpoint, like talent standpoint, if I'm being honest, I think Christian Koloko is a better player at this stage of their respective careers than Alex Len, but Koloko is not as big and he's not as experienced. And when you're thinking about the playoffs and somebody that you can put out there and at least know that they are experienced in an NBA setting, I think like they want that, like you said. I think they want something that is different than Jaxson Hayes. They definitely want the option of pure size if needed for matchup specific reasons. Talking about OKC with Chet and Hartenstein, talking about the Timberwolves with Gobert and Randall, obviously talking about Denver and Jokic. Like you want to have that. He can do some rebounding, particularly in the offensive glass. He can block some shots. He is, again, a massive human being. If you are looking for an enforcer, he can do something like that. He can deliver some hard fouls. But I think this is much more about him physically and how long he's been in the league than his overall skill.
If you need to put, I like to think of role guys like this in this way, sort of end of the bench, end of out of the rotation guys. If you need to put him into the lineup for a week, for 2 weeks, like, somebody gets hurt, something happens, and you're like, you know what, we need 10 to 15 minutes a game for 2 weeks from Alex Len. Can he provide us that? I think the answer is yes. I think if you're looking for high-end minutes, if you're somebody who's going to, elevate your team or whatever, the answer is no. But that makes him a perfect player for what the Lakers need here. And like I said, as good as they're going to find on the buyout market, because the buyout market, you've got your Mo Bambas of the world. The Lakers have been down that road. They were not super impressed the first time they did the Mo Bamba thing. And it just, again, you start to, as you go down some of these lists, Daniel Tice is not great either and is smaller. Len is a much bigger guy than Tice.
Yes.
So, just I have no problem with what the Lakers did here. What I think it means, however, is that the Lakers are probably going to go small
Yep.
a lot.
Yep.
But before everyone freaks out about small ball, the Lakers are a little bit different in what small ball means for them, and I'll explain next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, and some even consider the Super Bowl a holiday season that just wrapped. There's nothing like giving
based on the quality of that game. I mean, suckered into watching that thing.
Yeah, I mean, really, you actually may just want to redecorate your home to remove the stink of having watched that game in your home, and a little makeover, a little treat, little better feng shui from that Super Bowl. It helps you get in a routine, whether you're tidying up or clearing out or just want to give your space a new look to start 2025. Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. Like, I've been looking around for some furniture, and the huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and my budget. And Wayfair is helpful. The best part, free and hassle-free delivery, even for larger items. Wayfair's site is easy to navigate. You'll find everything you want in no time. Again, there is something for every style, for every home, no matter the space, no matter the budget. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
So, Andy, you like to point out that the Lakers, when they won the title back in 20, often played quote unquote small ball, but nothing about what they were was actually small. And our friend Schmidtke Originals posted basically what I was about to get to here. Like, when you talk about the Lakers going with small ball, it's all relative, because they're going to be putting out lineups, even when Hayes doesn't play, that are where nobody is likely going to be under, maybe if Gabe Vincent's playing, but everybody else is going to be 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". There's going to be a lot of length and a lot of size on the floor for the Lakers at all times.
Yeah, I used to refer to as medium ball during that championship season. Markieff Morris was often the key for doing that, but you had Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green was big for his position. KCP could be big for his position. AD is, even if he's not huge in terms of bulk, he's a lot to handle. LeBron is LeBron and big for most positions. JJ has been, even with Jaxson Hayes, the only center on the roster, he's been going to DFS off the bench often 3 minutes into the first and third quarters, which is really signaling a lot of these plans. It's not because of anything Jackson's doing wrong. Like, Jackson's actually been playing, I think, pretty well, but it's some of this is tinkering with the rotations. Like, Jaxson plays top of second quarters or the end of first sometimes, but a lot of this is also some of the Lakers' best players are their big forwards: LeBron, Rui, Vando, DFS, and you're looking for ways to get your best players on the floor. Does it create some compromises with size and rim protection? Yes. But the flip side is putting Hayes out there for more minutes that you want. Again, he's been playing well. Or somebody like Alex Len, you're compromising yourself in other areas. And I think JJ is just very much leaning into something that's been working well of late, and also gets most of their best players on the floor. It may not be the ideal or perfect way to do it, but you have to work with your constraints, particularly when, and we'll get to this, Mark Williams, despite Charlotte's best efforts, is not on the roster.
No, or any roster. He's sort of with both two teams and no teams. He is Schrodinger's center, basically.
We'll get to that over before the show.
Yeah, I mean, just more because it's interesting, not because it's necessarily going to, it's going to change what's on the Lakers roster. I do want to talk about Hayes here for a second. We forgot to mention to punctuate what you're saying, Andy. It is worth noting now that the Lakers point guard, for all intents and purposes, is now 6'6", and according to Nico Harrison, 270 pounds. So we got a large point guard. So,
I mean, he could be the center if we need one.
all of this
He weighs
is to
more than
say
Alex Len.
the Lakers are going to be the biggest small team that you're going to find. And we saw against, they did it against Karl Anthony Towns, for example. They did it against Ivica Zubac. The Lakers have been able to devise defenses that have given bigs, really good bigs, difficulty over the last couple of weeks. And this is before you had Luka on, to help organize an offense and guys coming, all of that. So I think they believe that they can make this work. And I do want to say something about Jaxson Hayes, because a bunch of people, and I forget exactly who they're, particularly on the YouTube page and the regular comment section, not the chat board for the live shows, have really been getting on me about how I've been evaluating Hayes. And I want to actually give them some credit. They said I've not been giving him enough credit for how well he's playing, that I'm shortchanging him, and all these other stuff by saying, he's limited and all these other things. What the Lakers would be doing, I'm willing to say I don't know if Hayes is good enough to do these things surrounded by LeBron and Luka, whatever. What I'm willing to say then and amend this to is, you would be asking Hayes to do things that he has not yet done to this point in his career. Asking him, if you play him 25 to 30 minutes a night or something like that, to carry a larger burden in higher leverage games than he's ever done. Does that mean he can't do it? I don't know if I'd put my eggs in that basket, but he has played well. And so I just want to make
any
sure.
basket these days, there's an egg shortage.
Really can't. I know. The other day I was going to make myself an omelet, and I'm like, in this economy, and so I opened a 76 Bordeaux instead and drank that because it was more cost effective. Andy, you have to remember, the special occasion is when you eat the eggs. You don't save the eggs for the special occasion. I want to acknowledge that Hayes has played well, but I do think there's a danger in trying to extend him past that point of, you want to really maximize him and not risk getting kind of a diminishing return by leaving him out and asking you to do too much.
I also, we were talking about the larger forwards on this team and the way they've been playing well defensively. I think the way that they've been offering increased physicality, which I think is not unrelated to, Vando being available, getting more minutes, what Dorian Finney-Smith brings, what Gabe Vincent brings, and Gabe has been playing extremely well of late too. This is, I think, also a good place to bring up Jordan Goodwin. Over the last couple games, he played a lot against Indiana, I think initially in part because of all the players the Lakers were missing and Gabe being on a minutes limit, Vando still on a minutes limit, but then he just started playing really well, ended up finishing the game, was ahead of Shake Milton in the rotation Monday against Utah. And beyond just playing really well, one of the things that jumped out at me about Goodwin is two game sample size, acknowledged, but with the Lakers, he's averaging 6 rebounds a game, and it's not really out of character for what he's done being in the league. He's bounced around a lot, but for about 18 minutes a game for his career, he's averaging just under 4 rebounds a game. That's pretty good for a guard his size.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is the way he's been playing offensively and defensively with that physicality. I assumed, because I've never frankly been up close to him or Shake Milton, I assumed Goodwin was bigger than Shake. He's actually smaller.
Yes.
He's about an inch or two shorter, depending on where you look, and about 5 to 10 pounds lighter, depending on where you look. He just plays with a physicality and an edge and a motor that JJ has been talking about looking for. You got to see more in terms of figuring out if it's for real. But I'll tell you right now, man, like, he's clearly ahead of Shake in the rotation. Things may change when other guys aren't on minutes limits, or we figure out Dalton Connect's situation and when he can get back on the court. But
he's supposed to expect to be in uniform and playing on Wednesday.
I will believe he's going to play when I see it, just because the situation's so weird, which we're going to talk about. But Goodwin's making a real case for a converted contract.
Well, and I think he could get one, but they don't have to do anything because they don't have 50 games left. So I mean, the biggest reason you'd convert Goodwin or Koloko or anyone at this point is to make them playoff eligible. If you want to make sure, because the two-way guys are not eligible to be on your playoff roster. And I think, Goodwin, by the way, went to Althoff High in Belleville, just outside St. Louis, where Andy and I grew up.
Went to SLU.
Local guy. That's right. He is more of a real point guard. He's much closer to that skill set than Shake. Shake is a score first shooting guard type who I think the Lakers, when they acquired him, hoped could handle some of that ball handling and whatever. Goodwin's better at it. He's also got, 120 something games of NBA experience. So like Alex Len in that regard, he's familiar with the game. You can give him a game plan. He can go execute it. You can rely on him to give you decent minutes. In this case for the Lakers, faster than they expected. But I think in Goodwin, they've kind of found the skill set that they were maybe hoping Shake Milton would have, and it didn't quite work the same way. So I'm excited for him because it's like, you see these guys who bounce around get a chance to really come back in and play really well. And sometimes a player like Goodwin just needs the opportunity to be dropped in a situation like this. Look at like Gary Payton in Golden State, like kind of bounced around a little bit and then found himself in a great spot that fit what his skill set with a coaching staff that used him really well. So that can happen, but he has definitely played extremely well in those couple of games. So he could stick in the rotation a little bit. There's no question.
Yeah, we shall see. Will Mark Williams ever be in the rotation for the Lakers?
Anywhere, like for anyone.
I know it. Charlotte is trying to force this upon the Lakers. Talk about that next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by OpenPhone. Running a small business means wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. And as your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number, and that's where OpenPhone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and your personal life separate for just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees. You can or like one egg. You can compete. You can complete transparency and visibility.
Half an egg.
Half an egg. A yolk, not the whites. Just the yolk.
No, the yolk is the pricey part.
Yeah. So $15 for a yolk. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer, integrates with tools like HubSpot or hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off the first 6 months. OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra cost.
Couple housekeeping notes here. Do want to remind people, sign up for the Locked On Lakers newsletter. You go to lockedondaily.com. You see the URL at the bottom of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, then you click on Locked On Lakers, and you have the show and a bunch of other NBA analysis from around the channel delivered to you every single day. So we certainly would appreciate that. If you do it. I mean, I've seen a couple of people suggest somebody like Larry Nance, Marby Dog here says, I'd rather have Larry Nance Jr. over Len, but what can you do? The answer is nothing, because the Hawks haven't actually released Larry Nance, and now you hear chatter that they might actually want to sign him. And then, so that's really the problem. Is like most, players like Nance, they got to become available, and they're kind of too good to let go in that way. The other thing, Luka Dončić listed officially as questionable for tonight's game. Redick said he expected both he and LeBron to play in this last game before the All-Star break, but just want to let people know that Luka is questionable.
DFS and Gabe are both out for the game, which likely means more Jordan Goodwin. Yeah. Goodwin fever spreading around Los Angeles.
This Mark Williams thing is is weird. The Hornets, after writing this completely over the top statement that they put out after the failed physical, are now, according to Shams, exploring ways to protest, to undo, to have the league overrule the Lakers' physical. I don't think it's going to work. I've seen or heard nothing that indicates that it's going to work, and that sort of action is not a path I think the league particularly wants to go down. Deciding whether or not teams are giving physicals in good faith. But that said, it doesn't make the story any less weird.
There would have to be, in my mind, just a smoking gun in terms of serious bad faith actions by the Lakers. And I'm sure the league is going to talk to either the Lakers doctors, an independent doctor, both, and get some people to just break down what they were looking at with Mark Williams's physical, and what about this feels like not having the information that they needed when they agreed upon this trade. Because remember, Rob Pelinka, not that he needed to acknowledge it. I mean, anybody who even follows the NBA knows Mark Williams has missed about 2/3 of the games of his career. But Rob Pelinka acknowledged, like, there's a history with Mark Williams and injuries. We've seen the standard basic medicals, no surgery, stuff like that, but we need to give a physical. And we talked about this before. I think it is quite possible that whatever spooked the Lakers is something that Charlotte wasn't even aware about, like something that might be a surprise to them in terms of the physical, or like, the severity of whatever. Like, teams are not always looking for everything with their players while taking care of their health. They're usually focused on the known problem issues and getting them back on the court. But the idea that, the Lakers, that Rob Pelinka at the last minute got cold feet because of hashtag reasons, or just decided like, it's too much to give up. I don't like it now. I'm going back on, or the galaxy brain theory that I've seen floating around social media and Lakers Twitter, that Rob did this fully knowing he was going to eventually rescind it, but he just wanted to show Luka Dončić, I will go after the players that you want, and that, you message to Luka, it's your team, we're working for you. Like, that is not just too clever by half. That's like a fireable offense. Like, that is not something that's going to convince Luka to stick around this team. That's going to convince him that it's being run by a bunch of jackasses running.
Really? Is there a subset of tinfoil hat wearing?
Oh, yes.
I missed that.
I didn't make this up. I didn't come up with this on my own. It's too stupid to come up with.
I was about to say, respectfully, that's really stupid.
No, I mean, like, that's the sort of thing that makes Luka think this organization's run by a clown show. I'm not going to commit my prime to him. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I would be stunned if it is revealed that there is some type of bad faith on the Lakers' part on that type of obvious level, because it's too easy to spot.
It's just, yeah. I mean, I think what happened is the Lakers had a more stringent. I mean, they probably set the bar pretty high for this, higher than they might, the average physical. But they also were acquiring a player who hadn't played a full season's worth of games. If you combine all 3 of the seasons that he's played in the NBA, it still doesn't equal 1 full NBA season. So, like, a higher threshold might be worth it here. Again, I don't expect the league to intervene here, and until I get news or reporting that says otherwise, I'm going to consider this kind of an interesting sideshow that is more of a Charlotte Hornets problem than a Lakers problem. And it does mean that, again, with all the players out, I would fully expect that Dalton Knecht's going to play for the Lakers on, in tonight's game. Like, I know you're a little more suspicious about this stuff, but I Knecht was, I think, given a day to sort of process this stuff, but they're going to be down too many guys for him to sit again.
Suspicious
He's
is
a
not
member of the, he's a member of the Lakers. Like, he is on the
suspicious
team.
is not the word I would use. It's more, this situation is so effing weird that I don't feel comfortable guaranteeing Dalton's going to be out there, because I don't really have a template to base this on or any information to base it on. And depending on what Charlotte is wanting, or if Dalton somehow got hurt, like I'm saying I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I genuinely don't know.
Well, all I know is if the league does in fact try to interview Lakers doctors, assuming they don't pick up the phone and say, "Hi, everybody," I don't think the physical is going to be overturned. But we'll see. I mean, in some degree, it would make a fascinating story. But like, think about this from Mark Williams's perspective.
I feel terrible for him, man.
I do too. It's like, you're arguing, it's a situation where two teams are arguing and the loser gets the player. Usually, like, you would think it would be some sort of opposite situation where two teams are arguing for the rights to have a player. This is the opposite. It's like, no, you take him. And after saying we want him really bad, they're trying to petition the league to make somebody else take him.
Here's something we know, I think for sure, definitely on the Lakers side, but quite possibly on the Hornets side as well. Wherever Mark Williams ends up, and I suspect, like you, it's going to be Charlotte when all the dust settles, either place cannot give him the extension that he wants or any type of long-term commitment. Like, particularly the Lakers. Like, the Lakers cannot say his medicals are so bad that we are looking to do the exceptionally rare thing and rescind a trade, go back on it because he failed our physical, a player that we knew about health issues and wanted anyway. And they were signaling this would be our center of the future. Despite that, you can't take these steps. And then if he somehow ended up a Laker, give him another contract in this offseason or
no, the whole thing's screwy. I guess you could, and just, give him one that's far below market value, but it's a really unfortunate.
He might as well get damaged goods tattooed across his forehead. Like, I feel horrible for Mark Williams.
It's a really lousy situation for me. Look, the Lakers will come out of this fine. They can explain. The answer for Dalton Connect is very similar. It's simple. It's like, look, we love you. We drafted you. We believe very much in your talent. We really needed a center. You were the cost to get a 23-year-old center that we believed could really help us. It's not personal. It's business. Dalton Connect's been to 73 different colleges. He worked, he worked his way up to get to this place where he could play in the league. In an incredibly admirable way, where a lot of players might have given up and not believed in their talent. This is not going to derail him. He is going to be fine. I mean, it's be like when Pau got traded and then wasn't traded anymore, and then he was like, great. Pau tried to get himself back to the Lakers after they traded him. So,
well, for a little while, and then he was ready to get the hell out. But the difference, though, but
initially he was able to come back, and Pau was far more established in the league, and deserving of quote unquote, and more able to be like offended by being traded than Dalton Connect.
Well, look, Pau Gasol and especially Lamar Odom, like, that trade was upsetting to both. We covered the team. We were around those guys. Pau was incredibly sick of being asked, like, when do you think you're going to get traded? Do you think you're going to stay? Like, I mean, he was incredibly tired of it. Lamar said, trade me anyway. Like, he could not go back. Yep. But those guys at least had agency with the team. Like, they'd won championships.
Right. That's my point.
Lakers. Like,
Connect doesn't have that.
No. And I mean, they did not trade for an upgrade over Dalton. They traded for something he can't do, which is be 7 feet tall or 7'2", have a 9'9" wingspan.
Yeah. Once he gets
standing reach
processed by it and all, once he processes all this stuff, it's going to be fine. I am not in the slightest bit worried about Dalton Connect's ability to kind of reconnect with the team. But we'll see who plays in tonight's game. Obviously, everyone's hopeful that Luka plays his second game with the Lakers. We get another opportunity to both watch him play, but the Lakers get another opportunity to get a run in with LeBron and Luka before the All-Star break. And so again, the more you do that, the more you come out, the more reps you get, the better off the Lakers are going to be. So we'll see. Obviously, though, you do not want to risk any type of injury to Dončić, who's going to get the All-Star break to sit down and finish this process of getting himself ready to play. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with about 32,000 subscribers to the channel. We, of course, will be back after the game. Check out the postcast with Dave Palais as well, and the Locked On Lakers newsletter. Go to lockedondaily.com. We'll see everyone after the game.